live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon. Hello, and welcome to this live stream of today's public meeting brought to you by Downtown Gun Rapids, Inc. We will begin shortly. Please keep your sound on, and we'll see you soon.
Good. All right. I would like to bring to order this Downtown Development Authority Board meeting on Wednesday, July 12, 2023 at 8:31. First order of business is to approve the June 14, 2023 minutes. It was in our packets. Are there any comments or corrections? Thank you. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. Next is the Grand River Greenway mapping request. Mr. Guy? Good morning.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Bill. Okay, I'm going to try to, I'm already failing. I was going to try to be efficient because there's a couple of substantial presentations on here, but we'll pick up the pace and get organized here. Before you today to request a little bit of funding to start a mapping project, really a creative visuals project to help us communicate the vision, common vision, and really the impact of the Grand River Greenway. You'll all remember, hopefully this looks familiar, we started this conversation with GR Forward. This is page 60 out of there in goal 1. Really starting to understand downtown Grand Rapids' place in the, certainly along the river corridor, but also just as importantly in the regional recreational system. As we've kind of evolved those conversations, we've started talking more about it as the Grand River Greenway and have been utilizing this map for the last couple of years. This might look familiar as well as we've gone through these conversations. Thanks to Administrator Vandenberg's team at Ottawa County who developed this. You'll see the details really kind of peter out when you get to the Kent County line because it was an Ottawa County map. As we've gotten deeper into the Greenway Trail conversation, this is an internal map we've developed in a very technical GIS platform just to start to understand how these connections work in the Greenway. But really looking to develop a little bit more substantial graphics right now to really demonstrate the existing and proposed segments of the trail and the Greenway. We're drawing some inspiration from other cities that have gone before us with similar projects. This is from Austin, and you can see where the planning and the technical documents kind of get a little bit more artsy and visual in terms of showing how the Greenway moves through a community. Another thing that's going to be important to us is really showing, as we've talked with stakeholders, showing the different types of assets that will be connecting along the corridor as well. And not just at the local or the downtown level, but at the regional level. How is downtown connecting with, say, a ballpark or Chief Hazy Cloud Park in Ada Township or Lake Michigan? So really wanting to develop some visuals that start to communicate this in a more approachable way. Finally, this is one from the Atlanta Beltline. We'll also be working to understand the population characteristics along the corridor. The Atlanta Beltline has done this around 25 different indicators along the population, just to understand the community that we're serving as partners as we build and grow the Greenway. So really hoping these visual assets will help better support our public conversations, awareness raising, and importantly, fundraising. Here before you today to request $60,000 to get this project started. We estimate in total it's going to be about $130 when it's all done. That includes a variety of different visual assets at different scales. We're also organizing for a digital platform of this when we get all the maps and stuff made. So we anticipated to fund this also through the Greenway grant that Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. received. Money hasn't come in yet. We anticipate that later this summer, but wanted to get on this because we've got some conversations going that really need to be supported with these types of assets. So we do anticipate these funds that we're requesting today will be reimbursed when those state dollars start to flow in. So any questions?
All right, thank you. Motion carries.
Thanks, everybody.
Downtown security contract renewal. Mr. Elledge, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Here to talk about the downtown security contract renewal. So just a little quick background. Last year, 2022, DGRI partnered with the City of Grand Rapids to conduct a pilot program to have uniformed security officers on the street, just kind of responding to some incidents that occurred last year, and just wanted to really test to see how I'll stop moving so much, sorry about that. Test to see how a program like that would impact those incidents and really benefit the downtown central business district as well as the sort of businesses in that district. Kind of reviewed that at the end of the year after it ended when summer was done. Felt like it was a success. Sort of rebooted the pilot earlier this year, kind of kicking it off in spring. Last year, we didn't start the pilot till late summer, so only had a couple of months that the program ran. So we really wanted to see how things with the pilot program ran earlier this spring as well. Again, it seems like the program has been well received and has done some good work. And so looking to sort of establish a more long-term contract with a local security provider, Phoenix Security Services, who was involved with both pilots. So the total ask here is for $57,120 for a contract that extends through summer, ending at the end of Art Prize. And this $57,000 is the total contract, but some of that we anticipate will be reimbursed by the city. And I will entertain any questions.
Any questions for this? Yes.
I'm wondering how many months this contract covers. It wasn't exactly clear.
Sure, so it's about 14 weeks, so about 3 months plus, give or take.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Could you share some of the, you said it was a success and it was a pilot, so what were some of the learnings and what criteria made it a success?
Yeah, I think what we've seen overall is just the increase in uniform presence. It's been helpful for both the homeless outreach team and the ambassador team to have an additional set of hands to rely on, so the ambassadors can help with security, or can use the security rather to help with incidents of like large gatherings and crowds and things like that. There's also been some help with sort of keeping Rosa Parks clearer at night when the park is supposed to be closed, and there's been some incidents that have happened once the park has been closed with like large crowds gathering and sort of things happening with that. So having the security detail be available during that time has been really helpful.
Any other questions? Yes.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of that. Do we have any like data in terms of the encounters they have, anything like that, just to sort of support it? I agree with you that I think it's actually been a success. Just anecdotally, people I think feel safer downtown. But just curious if we have any sort of data as to the level of engagement of these.
Yeah, so they don't keep like hard and fast numbers like the ambassador team does, but we do get a weekly report summarizing all of their patrols for the past week and sort of outlining any incidents or anything that they were involved in. I receive those and usually pass them along to Tim, who passes them along to the city. So.
Yeah, I would think there's a soft advantage for this, just improving perception alone, seeing more security downtown, and patrolling, so I think there's the reality, and then there's also perception. We're trying to change both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other comments?
I forgot to mention, sorry, I forgot to mention that they're patrolling primarily the Center Business District, and then this year what was different about the pilot is we also asked them to patrol the Skywalk a little bit, given some of the incidents that have occurred there as well. So they've been added along with increased ambassador patrols in the Skywalk as well.
Anything else? We have a motion? And support? Is that clear? Who's the motion, who's the support? Okay, thank you. Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Motion
Thank you.
carries. Our favorite summer subject.
Early
World
to
of
start.
winter.
Okay, so before I talk about funding request, we're gonna do a little recap of how WOW went last year for you guys, and there's no better way to do that than show a recap video. So here we go. So, during the course of the 2 months, we had 4.5 million visitors downtown during that time frame, which is a lot more than last year, and that's, of course, just what we can count with cell phone data. So that's not including everyone that has or doesn't have cell phones, like children and everyone else. So this is kind of a outline of where we're at with how many proposals we received. I put out a cast call worldwide for our installations. This year we had the most proposals, so it was a lot of fun and difficult to choose what installations we're gonna bring in. This shows events, installations that we had, how much ice we brought in, the amount of grants that we were given to local placemakers, event organizers, and all that, and how many of which we supported their DEI and women specifically from that. So of course that grew a lot, which is really, really great to see. And I'm gonna pass it to you.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you got one.
Yeah, so this is, as Kim mentioned, we track all of our downtown visitation through Placer AI, which is a cell phone-based tracking. So we just have a couple slides here to show you general trends throughout the festival. One thing to note on this slide, because through these years that you see at the bottom, the duration of the festival were different lengths of time. We aggregated for what it would be on a daily average. You know, a couple years ago, the festival was 8 days, and now we're at 2 months. But this shows you a good trend coming out of the pandemic, just a general increase in activity, which is always good to see. This gives you a little bit better idea of the daily averages. Expected dips on Sunday, as you might surmise. We do have events on Sunday, but there's just generally less activity downtown. But it follows a pretty standard pattern, and we see some increases in 2023 over 2022, always positive. This will show you specific event attendance. So again, as Kim mentioned, this doesn't capture every single person that attended one of our events. What we do is we draw a border around the event area, and then it tracks any incoming cell phones that cross over that border that have location services turned on. As Kim mentioned, this doesn't include, you know, kids without cell phones, so we're not capturing probably as many youth as we would like. One thing we always want to note when we look at the demographics is these are estimates based on census tracts. So if it tracks a cell phone coming from a specific census tract. So while that tract could be a certain percentage African American, a certain percentage Hispanic, a certain percentage white, these numbers aren't going to be exact, but it gives us a general idea of where folks are coming from what tracts and what neighborhoods. So I just want to be clear that it's an estimate, not an exact science for us on the demographics.
Yeah, so I just want to specifically call this one out. I love that we did this with the Grand River Bands of Ottawa Indians this year. We were going to do it last year, and our chief and chairman had gotten sick, so we had to postpone it. So we hosted the first ever Great Lakes Snow Snake competition, and overall we had 14 different tribal nations represented at this event. We had 8 lower tribal members, 3 upper tribal members, 1 out of state and 2 Canadian. Overall, we had about 100 attendees and 58 competitors. The awesome thing is we had, you know, kids from, the youngest was age 3 and the eldest was 76, which is really great, and it meant a lot to our Indigenous community here. So those are just some photos of the event and some of our winners, which was just super great. So I want to call that out because that was a new event for us this year.
So related to feedback that we get, one thing I want to note here is we're always trying to figure out ways to generate more responses to the surveys we put out to businesses, to capture any feedback we can from what the impact was on their downtown business. Admittedly, we'll send out digital surveys that we generally don't get a great response rate for. We've tried incentives, we've tried, you know, various other sort of carrots to get folks to respond. We're always working on improving that. For this year, we're thinking, for the coming year, I should say, we're thinking we might try to do a little more door-to-door work with businesses, send a surveyor out with an iPad and just have them be able to fill it out on the spot so there's less burden on the business owner themselves. All that said, typically with surveying, if there's not bad news, you know, it's lower response rate is generally good because people like to tell you what went wrong, not necessarily what went right. So all that to say, we're working to improve that response rate. These were some that came specifically back to Melvin from some of our partners in Center City on Monroe Center. So with all the focus on Monroe Center and trying to improve activity there, these are very good to hear. But all that to say, we'll be working on ways to hone in this reporting and get a better response rate as we go forward for 24. From a paid advertising perspective, we went through some of this last year right before the festival to give you all a general idea of what our efforts entailed. Needless to say, we try to cover print, radio, and digital, as well as social, pretty evenly. We see different responses from different ads and can look at click-through rates and things like that. But I will say our digital stuff performed very well. That's targeted. We work with a vendor called Media Place Partners, and they allow us to target ads at people searching for winter festivals or winter activities, things like that. And it gets much deeper on the targeting methodology. I won't bore you with that, and I frankly can't talk with a lot of expertise on that. I wanted to call out Experience Grand Rapids here. They have kind of ramped up their partnership efforts over the years, and they've become and have been a fantastic partner. They did ad buys on Michigan Radio for 6 weeks. They did some work with WGN Chicago Radio for about 4 weeks, focused a bit on Southeast Michigan and some earned media down there. So the way we've divvied up our efforts is primarily we work on the local advertising, and they do regional in West Michigan, and then also Midwest regional. But they've been fantastic to work with, and we're already doing some planning with them for the coming year. Earned media, you probably noticed in your board packets over the winter, an influx in our earned media coverage over World of Winter. This is a really easy festival for us to pitch and sell to local media outlets. They always want to know what's going on and what events are coming up. And with the variety of events and art that we have, we just get a lot of great coverage. So there's a lot of value monetarily to that as well. But we're really pleased with the coverage we got this year. I'll blaze through these pretty quick, but just want to give you an idea here of our social performance, and I got to give a lot of credit to Nancy Toledo, our digital communications specialist on this. Our social has been performing extraordinarily well since Nancy took over. Actually, it was her year anniversary yesterday, so we didn't scare her off in year one, which is good. The increases you'll see on that percent change, this is compared to World of Winter last year, so that's the window we're comparing. This is just to show you that video performs very, very well for us. We have definitely increased our video deployment on social. This is something we want to focus on going forward. It always performs better. It tends to get engaged with more, but our video performs really well across all our channels. Engagements. So this is, for us, from a social perspective, engagement is always the stat we generally focus on the most, because that means people are not just scrolling by your posts, they're actually watching your video or commenting or saying they're going to attend an event. So to see a high level of engagement throughout the festival is that's a bonus for us. It's a really strong weapon for us to have, as we want people to be knowing what's coming up that week or focusing on a specific event. These are our two highest performing posts on Instagram. The one on the left there is a video from Silent Disco, and the one on the right is just an aerial photo from Circus Wonderland. Again, this is just to drive home the more visual our social presence is, the better it performs. So again, we, not just with stuff like the recap video you saw, but we do a lot of reels now. We do a lot of short form video that tends to perform a lot better with our audience. Website as well, I won't spend much time on this, but as you can see from the graph in the middle, obviously people are interacting with the World of Winter website most on mobile devices. So as we go through year to year and try to figure out the way to construct the mobile website, we want it to perform best on mobile. So we look at the design from a mobile first perspective. And really our focus is just trying to get people the information they want and need as quickly as possible when they're on their phone. A lot of times that relates to just the event calendar and images of the installations themselves. So this, you can see, obviously, folks were visiting the website at a much higher rate at the beginning of the festival, kind of getting their general information, planning their schedule out. But one improvement we want to make this year, we use a Squarespace format, web building format for World of Winter, which is somewhat limiting from a calendar perspective. So if any of you visited the website last year and tried to page through the calendar, it is very event heavy. It would show, on a daily basis, it would not only show events, but it would also show art installations. So we're working on cleaning that up this year, potentially building something ourselves. But we just want people to be able to go to the website, find the information they need, and then go to the festival. Oh, any questions on any of that? Sorry.
Yeah, so really last year we were the largest festival in the Midwest, and I'm proud to say for our team that we're the largest in the US now. So for those that thought it wasn't possible to become a winter city, we've done it. I don't know if I can beat that. There's a lot of really good ones. But any questions on recap stuff before I get into what's coming, hopefully? No? Okay, well, I'm going to jump right in it then. So thank you, Bill.
Yeah.
First installation is Permafrost from Fisheye. This is out of the UK. And actually, I should precedence this, that I put out a worldwide cast call for our installations. We had one local company submit something, and we are working with them. So I'll be back eventually. But we're working with them on their proposal. All the rest were from other countries. So, and then we'll work on our RFP for Activate grants for local artists and placemakers and event organizers specifically is open right now. It's closing here soon, so we'll have a lot more art installations and events too that we support for local artists only. So first is Fisheye. I'm really excited about this one because of what we recently just found this past year with the Mastodon. So this gives us some really awesome opportunity to team up with the Public Museum, and they're really excited already. Public Museum's always a great partner with us, so we're excited for that. This is a quick video, and I don't need to get into
For the winter
all of it, but
we have an important
this is showing
responsibility
you
to invent new ways
what
that can help
what they look like to
educate
scale,
and
and we're
mobilize
proposing this would
audiences
be
to take
on
action.
the Blue Bridge.
The awakening of the mammoths symbolizes the phenomenon referred to as the sleeping giant of climate crisis. The permafrost concept consists of 3 large polygon mammoths, a reference to the degradation of the active ice wedge layer with the typical polygon formation.
So all the polygons from the mammoths are made out of sheet metal. Inside it, there's perspex, colored perspex. Inside the mammoths, there's LED lights, so we can light them up in different colors during the night. We make the mammoths here from A to Z in our own workshop at Fisheye. All the energy we use to make them comes from our solar panels.
Installation, and again, proposing it to be at
Focus on sustainability. The fact that
run
on
across the Blue
renewable
Bridge.
energy.
So some reason.
The exciting part
Don't
of
even
this
hit the-
assignment is that the concept we created becomes.
There we go. Okay. Trial and error. So the next one is Dandelion from Amigo and Amigo. So forgive me on not having an amazing video. This is just recently new. So the video that I do have was from like my personal visit over to Australia to check it out. So forgive me, but I will show you how it works. So it's like about every 10 minutes it does a light show that's programmed, which is really awesome. But the cool thing is you go inside here, which is huge, right? So a lot of room for people, but you touch basically like a drum, and you can interact and change the lights yourself and change the music that's programmed. So it's really, really cool. And this we're proposing to go on Calder Plaza. Next, same thing, Nightwalker. There are 8 blow-up installations, and this is really unique and new technology where we've had inflatables before, right? But we've never had interactive inflatables, and this is new, where you hit the drum. There's information about each frog, and there's a frog from 8 different countries, and you hit the button, and it will ribbit, croak back at you, which is really fun. So again, I don't have a great video, but I'll show you some of them from my trip. So there's 8 different ones. They're all range on size. Some of them are like 3 stories. Some of them are maybe like 1 story, but they all range, and they're all very unique. Next is Lunar Lamppost, and we're the frog. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Anabwin Park. And then Lunar Lamppost, we're proposing at 555 or 6th Street. We're kind of playing around right now with site maps. But these, there we go. So those ones are very similar to kind of how Trumpet Flowers worked, where you're also interacting. It does a show, but you're hitting sounds and lights yourself. So we try to do, a lot of interactive installations because those are really big hits and people spend a lot more time playing around at those specific installations. Oh, I did it again. Sorry, bear with me. Okay. Next is Sonic Runway, and we're proposing this to go across the Gillette Bridge. So you get the idea. And next is Mikasa, and these would be going to 555. So we worked with Citizen Alliance members, staff, Arts Advisory Council, our River Activation Steering Committee to help us select the installations that are being brought to you today. And we have a request of not to exceed $300,000 to support these installations for the full 2 months. All of them will be here. There's 2 that are here for 7 weeks, 1 that is here for 4, and all the rest are here for the whole duration. So as you saw in Bill's data, there's always like a kick up every time we bring a new installation. So it's really great to program and do that specifically. So you always have to come back to see them all. So with that, I'd take any questions.
Any questions, comments? Yes?
Quick question on the cost breakdown. The Amigo and Amigo has just one entry for about $125. I assume that's for the 3, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So when working with a company and getting things in bulk, it's a lot cheaper because they can ship everything together, and also they give you a discount too. So that it would have been a lot higher if I did break down, but with my relationship with them and also like renting in bulk, it helps change the cost of that. So yeah.
Well, it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Exciting.
Great.
Love
Yes.
it.
Love it.
We're a four-season city.
Yes.
Embracing winter.
Yes, we are.
Best in the world.
Hey, don't put the
New
pressure on me
goal.
too hard, Rick.
The new goal. I would entertain a motion to approve.
Support?
All right. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congrats.
Thank you
Good luck.
guys. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate your willingness, and just a major shout out to the whole team for this, because it's not just my team that puts in effort, it's the whole staff. So
By
thank
the way,
you guys.
if you need someone to help you go to Australia next year,
I was really lucky. I was sponsored, so next time I'll pack you with me.
okay.
Thank you.
All right. We have a Wood on the calendar. It said Wood TV.
We're inviting Kara Wood. We scared Jessica Wood.
Yeah.
She talks
Which
about
Wood? Which Wood is it?
So while they're stepping up, quick intro. So I think you've all seen presentations publicly of the amphitheater. Wanted to invite Kara Wood from Grand Action 2.0, as well as Bill Colhane from Progressive, who's been kind of the project managing this throughout. A lot of good updates to share, and just wanted to make sure the board was up to speed on what's going on. No action on this, just informational overview. So, Kara.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks, everyone. It's great to see so many familiar faces in the room. We'll give a short presentation on the project, but first, I'm Kara Wood, Executive Director of Grand Action 2.0. We're a nonprofit economic development organization that works on transformational projects for downtown. Some of the past projects that we've worked on were public-private partnerships that involved a significant community effort to bring the convention center, the arena, and also the downtown market to the city. So we're here with another project. We've done a lot of planning and research and analysis on a downtown amphitheater. And this project builds on that past success. So we've done a lot of research in terms of feasibility, economic impact, financial operation wherewithal. And so we're building on the past accomplishments to execute yet another project that is part of the destination asset study that was unveiled in 2017. So you may recall there was a 10-year plan of all the new investments that should occur in this marketplace for our growing city. And so this is just one of those. The development is on the riverfront, 201 Market from Fulton South to Bartlett Street. Actually, our site alone is just at the off-ramp at Market to Bartlett. It is a mixed-use development that would provide connections to adjacent neighborhoods, also provide, hopefully, to be a catalyst for the full 30 acres along the riverfront, provide activation and access to the river itself, and new housing development over time. This is an essential riverfront trail connection that is needed, and a great linkage to the White Pine Trail. It's estimated that this project could result in over $1 billion of new investment in residential, commercial, hospitality, and entertainment on our riverfront. This is the site here. The city and private investors have collaborated on the relocation of the trunk sewer itself and in the site, so essentially readying the site for development along the riverfront. And so I'm going to turn it over to Bill now to talk about the specifics on the technical design of the facility itself and some of the other details that are being looked at right now.
Thank you, Kara. I'm Bill Culhane with Progressive AE. We are the design architect. My particular role on this project is to work with Kara to help facilitate a lot of the front-end work that's been going on, so thank you for having us here. I feel really bad we don't have any music or flashing lights, but I was contemplating humming in the background, but decided to forego that. For those of you who are around and as old as I am, you may remember the relocation of the trunk sewer on Monroe Avenue when the convention center was being developed. That was one of the first things that we had to do, was relocate that same 13-foot diameter trunk sewer that goes along the river on the east side. So that was one of the things that we wanted to get out of the way for this potential development to take place. I always go backwards on this. So just a breakdown of those 31 acres. If we start down just south of Wealthy Street, part of the study area that was done when Populous and Progressive were engaged to take a look at the overall development and potential for these locations, we looked at the 1 acre site just south of Wealthy, 2.5 acres between Wealthy and the railroad, the 4.5 acres between the railroad and what was formerly the Bartlett right-of-way, and then the 11.5 acres minus the green way that's going to be retained by the city makes this 10.5 acres. And then, of course, the privately owned property here at Fulton and Market. This is, I like to describe this to people as Legos or building blocks. This is a study or density and massing study that we did to identify the potential development along those areas. And again, going south to north, potentially lower rise, low density, 70 units. As we move north, the density and the height of the projects increases with potentially 230 units. Directly south of the amphitheater site, the possibility of, again, a 500 to 700 unit residential development. On the amphitheater, we are currently looking at proposals and opportunities from private developers for a 300 to 400 unit development directly adjacent to the amphitheater. And then, of course, the red canopy structure here is the amphitheater. And then again, this is a potential development that could take place on that property, which is outside the scope of what we're doing right now. Along the bottom of the screen, these are examples of what other communities have done along the river and areas that could potentially take shape with either high-rise or medium-density and medium-rise housing. As we focus in on the amphitheater site, one of the things that we are trying to do in our design solution is to create connectivity to the river from Market Avenue. So we have created this main plaza here at the northeast corner, which will do a couple of different things. It acts as our main entrance to the amphitheater. It connects some street activation with outdoor dining. This is our food and beverage area in the amphitheater. It's two-sided, so it faces the amphitheater and it also faces the street side and gives us opportunities during the week to keep that open. It also connects north through through this 2.2 acre area that's going to be developed as open green space and park space. This gray area along here represents a 50-foot wide swath, which is the greenway connectivity through the city to the trail network. Our teams are currently working on how this is going to actually interface. What we've shown here is an example of how our trail network would connect with the river trail network. This represents a potential bridge that would go from our property to the west to Grand Valley's property. We are seeking grants for that right now in hopes that we can create funding opportunities for that. Along the south edge here, this is the old Bartlett right-of-way. We have just a surface parking lot right now to provide parking for the amphitheater. And then this is our back of house. For those of you who have ever seen the back of house of a traveling musical show, I always like to quote the Taylor Swift. Taylor has 22 semis and I think 8 buses that go along with her everywhere she goes. So you can tell that we don't have that space here, but ASM Global has a marshalling yard that they will use outside of the immediate downtown area. But we do need semi-docking areas and tour bus locations for that. We have 7,000 fixed seats, 5,000 under the canopy, 2,000 that ring the upper concourse, and then we have 5,000 on the lawn area here. As we look at how people are going to get to and from the venue and how we're going to manage things, we've identified public parking spaces within the city of Grand Rapids through a 5, 10, and 15-minute walk, which could also include access by electronic mobile scooters or bicycles, Uber Drop, Rapid, Dash buses, and other public transportation. But within this 15-minute, we use walking as our time radius. Within this 15-minute walking radius, we have public lots, select private lots, GVSU lots, and then on-street parking for a total of 15,500 spaces. We anticipate typically the parking relationship you use is 3 to 1. So for every 3 people that go to the concert or event, they will typically come in 1 car on average. So we're looking at 4,000 parking spaces potentially for the amphitheater. If you look at a joint evening, let's say the Griffins are making a long run in the playoffs and they've got a big playoff game, simultaneous event, 12,000 at the arena, 12,000 at the amphitheater. That still totals only 8,000 parking spots anticipated. So we feel like we have plenty of parking available in this area to serve the amphitheater. That's why we had just a small amount of on-site parking. As we look at mobility, we just recently, I don't know if anybody from the Rapid is here today. If I didn't recognize you, sorry, I apologize for that. But we met with the Rapid yesterday to talk a little bit about what other communities are doing during these large events, what Nashville does at the Ascend Amphitheater, what some of these other facilities are doing. So they are engaged with us in initial communications to talk about this. But we did highlight here the pink line, which is the newest Dash route. And as this is our site, so the new Dash buses go right by the amphitheater site. We also took a look at sound, traffic, sound, people, and hours of operation. And of course, the big questions regarding the amphitheater, if you've been watching the news or reading anything lately. So what we did is we engaged a company called Adibri. They're national sound consultants. They work on amphitheaters, public entertainment venues. And what we did is we came here last, probably about a year ago in the spring, and we took baseline sound readings. The current sound readings on this site, we know it's an industrial site. We know there's a lot of heavy truck traffic. We know it's mostly asphalt and steel right now, unfortunately, right on our river. So we're excited about being able to transform that. But as we talk about sound, we took a sound reading in the locations. The minimum sound reading was 48 decibels, which is normal conversation. Probably 48 decibels is even a little lower than I'm talking right now. A maximum of 73 decibels with an average of 66 decibels for the baseline sound on the current site. That was taken over a 2-day period, 48 hours continuous recording of sounds. And as we look at the way the amphitheater is structured and some of the sound mitigation that we've employed on this, we see that our projected sound on site ranges between 67 and 100 decibels, which is equal to either a hairdryer or a concert. So the projected sound leaving the site is between 67 and 77 decibels, which is equal to a washing machine, residential washing machine, or a noisy restaurant. And the projected sound on adjacent parcels is between 62 and 67. And the way that this has been accomplished, if you remember the floor plan or the site plan that we just looked at, and you think about the shape of our berm that we were looking at, you can see that this darker red colors and these orange colors take on the shape of that berm. And the reason that sound is reacting that way is because density, whether it's through concrete or through earth, is what stops those low frequency sounds and contains them within the amphitheater space. So as you can see, these lighter yellow colors and green colors, which are in that range of 67 to 77 decibels, those are the sounds that are getting out. And then you can also see, very interesting, how the expressway acts as a natural barrier. We are getting a little bit of reflection off GVSU as the sound comes across the river. It reflects off the Seidman building, and so we go from the green back to the yellow as we get a little sound feedback from there. Just a quick overview. I should have done this at the beginning. We did a computer model of the area, not only our amphitheater model, but also the surrounding area. Then we entered a sound source at the stage house here, and then we projected those sounds and did a computer modeling of that system. Just a recap with regards to public engagement. We did go through 3 different public engagement processes on this property. The first one, as I said, was done by a company called Populous in conjunction with Progressive about 2 years ago, and it was talking about the redevelopment of the 31-acre site in total, not specifically about the amphitheater, although the amphitheater was part of it. Some of the goals that came out of there is to embrace the location, to be a world-class entertainment venue, to be more than an entertainment venue to the community, to create an iconic architectural expression similar to what Kara led with in the Van Andel Arena and the DeVos Place Convention Center. We wanted to contribute to the vibrance and growth of our downtown and to create a sustainable asset for everyone, not just for music, but also as a development of a park, as the engagement of the river, and providing access for people of all areas in the city. Some of the other community engagement that we did was about a year ago. Rossetti Architects at that time was working with Progressive We engaged various stakeholders in the community. We did 6 meetings over a series of 2 days. And some of the things that came out of that, excuse me, was, again, the importance of river activation, creating free and multiple access points for everyone to the river, to also identify opportunities for local and minority-owned businesses, for pop-up restaurants, for bars, for other entertainment venues. And then we talked about housing to create this opportunity for mixed income housing on this 31-acre site. Again, we're looking at between 1,500 and 1,700 new housing units, connections to the trail, creating the river as a destination for all, and really utilizing that asset within the city. The last round of community engagement was just prior to our special land use application that was heard back on June 22nd with the City Planning Commission. That community engagement included 8 neighborhood or business organizations. We specifically talked about the amphitheater, the location, and opportunities to engage not only with businesses but also neighborhoods and how that might impact them, and talk specifically about ways and suggestions that they had. A recap: 12,000 seat capacity, 54 ticketed events per season, 300,000 visitors anticipated per year, $7 million in annual wage earnings, $490 million impact over 30 years, 480 jobs, again, over that 30-year period. And as I talked about, our next steps for the amphitheater, we did receive special land use approval from the Planning Commission. We are in the process of creating or filling out our capital needs. We have to work with the city of Grand Rapids. I notice Tim's here in the background. Tim and I have been talking a lot about how we're going to relocate and coordinate the access to the site regarding the relocation of the current city Public Works Department. And we are doing that in anticipation of beginning demolition and then construction in May of 2024. That was kind of fast. Anybody have any questions for Kara or I?
Any questions or comments?
One thing I was going to add quickly, if anyone, if there are no other questions, is Bill and Kara referenced some of the planning that's gone on. I always like to remind everyone the Green Grand Rapids plan, the GR Forward plan that looked at 201 Market, and while it didn't specifically reference an amphitheater, it talked a lot about the housing development potential, the access to the riverfront, and just how important that site is to both downtown and the city as a whole. And so I think this project really helps to check a lot of boxes as Bill has gone over. The other part was that Bill and Kara have been here, I think, 3 or 4 times, at least in this room. One of which was with our Citizen Alliance group a few weeks back. Did a similar presentation and had a good dialogue. I think that group identified some opportunities with the backside of this berm right here in terms of making sure that, because that's going to be publicly open outside of amphitheater events and just generally year-round, making sure that that's an inviting space because it will be another spot for people to linger, access the river. And so we're looking at, through the design process that you all helped fund, looking at ways to potentially incorporate seating and other elements that would make it an attraction outside of when events are going on. So just wanted to add that little context.
Just want to say thanks to everyone in the room. We have a lot of partners that are helping us accomplish the work to date. We continue to work on a daily basis with many of you in the room to accomplish this really, really tough project. But it will be transformational for downtown and certainly a big boost to our regional economy. So thank you. And we look forward to continuing the work together.
Thank you. It's exciting. Okay, next is the Disability Advocate presentation. Mr. Miller.
Morning. So we have some folks here from Disability Advocates, and I'm just going to briefly talk about some of the initiatives that we've been working on with them for the last year. And then I think they'll get into a much more detailed inventory of what they've accomplished over this year. I think the first one is just their accessibility consulting. And we've incorporated them into all of our projects, whether that's a direct thing or whether it's indirect through the consultants that we hire. So any project that we're investing in now has this lens going through it, and really, I think, giving us some really good advice on how we make these projects more universally accessible. It's interesting because they had an event a few weeks ago with a national speaker named Stephen Wright, and afterwards we talked a little bit, and one of the things that he was intrigued most about was the fact that we now are incorporating this stuff into our projects. And he went back to a national listserv and was asking questions of any other municipalities that were doing this nationally, and he got no responses whatsoever. So his takeaway at this point in time is that this community is really leading the way in trying to incorporate some of this stuff into our public projects as we make these investments. And I think that that's a really good thing, and it's something that we have been very purposeful about over the course of this relationship with this group of folks. So we're really excited about expanding upon that and really using it as leverage with some of these projects to make sure that they are more accessible and universally accessible at that. Obviously, there's a learning curve with a lot of that stuff, and we do make mistakes, so we're moving forward with that stuff and trying to get better about it as we move forward. The other one is just auditing downtown accessibility in general, and I think that this is an important one. They have looked at venues, parking, pathways within our downtown, and really have an extensive inventory that's been established for those that we really want to incorporate into some of our information that we're putting out, and maybe with some of our partners as well. Just allowing people a little bit more predictability to move around downtown as they come down here, so that they don't get into a position where they can't get somewhere because of something that they were not aware of. And then the last thing I'll say is that they're also doing a very similar methodology with our events. So last year they did a lot of work with World of Winter, looking at ways that we can improve the accessibility of that event. They've looked at numerous other events that we're putting on. So I think that this is an evolving process that we're working through, and we're really excited to be able to make these little tweaks. Oftentimes not necessarily very big investments, but they do have a lot of bang for the buck. And it's not just about folks in wheelchairs using wheelchairs or people using white canes. It really, when we talk about universal accessibility, it's really about making it better for everyone. And I think that we're doing that on a very incremental basis. So we're excited to continue that work with these folks. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dave and Kim. Kim and Dave.
Good morning. I just would like to take a moment to introduce the members of our team who are here this morning. Jackson Botsford is our accessibility specialist. Vicki Schmidt is one of our volunteer test pilots who you've heard us talk about before, people with disabilities who go out and help us assess accessibility downtown. Vicki is also a downtown resident. And of course, Dave Bolkowski, our fearless leader. What I'll do now is hand it over to Jackson to begin the presentation.
Okay, so just click that.
Oh, that's the wrong direction.
All right. Well, thank you, Kim, and good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Jackson Botsford, and I am the accessibility specialist at Disability Advocates of Kent County. The results of our work include the following. The development of the Downtown Accessibility Navigator. This navigator's primary function is to provide a snapshot of what is present at a selection of high-profile properties and venues within the downtown footprint. The contents of this navigator is designed to help gauge visitors' expectations and to reduce uncertainties while traveling to the downtown area. In addition to the Navigator, we provide consulting on accessibility-related matters. With DGRI's direction, we have provided insight and recommendations on new construction and renovation projects within the downtown area. With the World of Winter 2023 exhibition, we have provided our accessibility expertise to help inform and provide context for the broader roster of future downtown social and cultural events. In addition, we have piloted the Access Collaborative. In conjunction with DGRI, this project would lead the Metro 6 cities, Kent County, and other municipalities in developing master plans for removing physical and social barriers within their communities. Delving deeper, the Downtown Accessibility Navigator can be broken down into parking lot paragraphs and venue descriptions. The parking lot paragraphs provide a detailed narrative description of a selection of properties and venue spaces, from parking ramps and surface lots to event spaces. The surveyed spaces demonstrated a broad range of accessibility, with examples achieving varying levels of success in complying with the base minimum technical requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act. Others, we have found, went far beyond what is required by the ADA and utilized universal design principles in several areas. Universal design being a series of techniques that allow a person to interact with and enjoy the space regardless of ability. Exemplary examples of what we have found during the survey include the Celebration Cinema Studio parking ramp. At the time of review, this place demonstrated a very high level of accessibility. There are multiple accessible means of entering the structure, and there is an overabundance of designated accessible parking spaces, far beyond what is required by the Americans with Disabilities Act. Another example would be the Peckett Park property, which is another venue that strives to maintain a high level of accessibility despite being in a fairly difficult part of the city. To elaborate, it is located on a hill. This park has been designed in tiers and is connected by a shallow ramp. There is an abundance of seating options provided, and the intersection at the corner of the property has well-designed perpendicular style curb ramps and a well-marked crosswalk. We will continue to work with DGRI, developing a permanent home for this navigator. At this point in our development, the document is planned to be housed on the Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. website, with outside organizations able to link to the records so that they can share it with their websites. In addition, new venues and locales will continue to be added to this navigator as time goes on, and of course, existing content will be updated as the need arises. Moving on, the venue descriptions, another part of the Access Navigator, will provide is a short list of features present at a given property or space. Emphasis has been more on short digestibility rather than expansive narrative. Today, we have assembled lists and narrative for over 50 restaurants and bar venues within the downtown footprint. In addition, we have evaluated and assembled data for 30 parking lots and park properties. And these numbers will continue to grow as time goes on. And with that, I would like to turn it back over to Kim.
Thank you, Jackson. As Mark mentioned, we have had the opportunity to be in on the planning with a number of high-profile projects, including Lions Square, the Calder Plaza redesign, 300 Monroe elevator renovations, the Van Andel Arena alleyway, and the Hill and River Network. This allows us to come in early in the project to make recommendations at a point where the cost considerations are important. Once plans have been developed and construction starts, it's much more difficult. To be involved. So we really enjoyed going out to World of Winter and making suggestions for how it could be more accessible. There were a lot of good things about World of Winter. We were really pleased. And we'll continue to take a look at events. I'm going to turn it over to Vicki.
I'm Vicki Schmidt. Hello, everyone. I have really enjoyed being a test pilot for the programs going on in downtown and the mapping of all the Wayfair, all of the walkways and everything about downtown, not just the venues. But the venue work has been really interesting because we were meeting for having a brainstorming meeting and trying to find ways to make what Jackson and all of us have been compiling and doing, how to make that shareable and to have it stay relevant. And in that conversation, this happened in June, just realizing that we needed a bigger company to be involved, someone like Google Maps, for instance. And we were trying to figure out ways to make this easily available, but also like embedded within a program that we're all using already. So that evening, I wrote a letter. I texted a connection that we had into Google because Dave, challenged me, which was great. He was like, "We need to get into Google." And so I went home that night and sent off an email at 10:30 and got an immediate response back saying, "Absolutely." And he goes, "I know just the person at Google," who ended up being Sasha Blair Goldenshawn. And they were, Google was very impressed with what we were doing once it was shared. It was from Tim Woods at Pococo Labs that had worked here in Grand Rapids with some of the projects. But anyway, how excited they were with what we were doing already and how we are very innovative, our city, in doing this. And that evening that we had our meeting is when the first time that came up with the embedded wheelchair, the active wheelchair user. And so this is now on that came live and out of London. And so they were our timing was perfect to write to him that night. Because I remember looking at, after I had found my way using Google Maps to drive there, I looked down at where we were and I was like, I saw that on there and I thought I was seeing something. I'm like, I was wanting to use Google Maps, saying we should use Google Maps. Well, they've already taken this first step. They are in the process of doing so much more, but there's all of these different layers that are available with these navigations that we'd like to help them, and they're excited in working with us about having a whole accessibility layer available on Google Maps, how you can navigate by using a bike or a cab, how you can click on what you're using, and having an accessible, because I use like the bike path when I'm going rolling around downtown, sometimes the walking isn't quite appropriate. The bike seems to be better, because then I can avoid curbs and stairs and things like that. So I was sharing with the group how I use that and also with Google, and they were just really excited to hear what we're doing, have given us suggestions on how to compile the navigator that we've been working on and get that into Google Maps very soon. So all of these will be expandable. Instead of just showing what it is now for each venue, there'll be expandability, so you can then draw out of it what you need and what applies to you, and maybe creating an accessibility layer, or maybe, just for different things. So it's just exciting. We're excited to keep continuing, and we've got really some good things ahead that we'll be able to do. Thank you.
Yeah, with that, as Vicki mentioned, the connectivity, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And to have that conversation with Sasha to continue this work and testing out, because as Vicki alluded to, all of that data that Jackson has collected and other folks and other test pilots, at one level is almost meaningless, because it's how do you wade through the data to know, but more than a yes or no question. Is there an accessible entrance into DGRI? Yes. All right, most people understand what that zero-step entrance is. Is there an accessible bathroom? The answer is yes. But what does that mean? You've met one wheelchair user today. Unfortunately, Patrick Parks, or maybe fortunately, who's the lead on this project for us, uses a power wheelchair. And his needs are much different than Vicki's, and needing attendant with him. And so a yes or no question in a bathroom isn't enough information. And so again, so excited having made that connection with Sasha. Things that were started here and have grown. Where Patrick is right now is we're hosting a group from MEDC at our offices. So that's why he couldn't be here now. A growing partnership with them that they've replicated and gone beyond what the DNR does to incentivize universal design in their grant making. And so you get additional points, and in some of their grants, additional dollars if you work with either us or one of our partners across the state of Michigan. Our work on this is funded by other dollars that we have, but again, hugely informed by our work with you all. Birgit Close gets most of the credit for this because she goaded me into calling Quentin Messer, and I did 18 months ago. And today, the MEDC Universal Design element list, which we developed with Progressive AE, Matheson, Spark 43, and ourselves, is housed on our website. So again, that partnership, and then we can control it when we improve it. As Jackson alluded to, the Access Collaborative, which started with funding and your help in that, we're now pivoting away from that and using additional dollars. Just a lot of great resonance with the municipalities and the county about the quick takeaway is most staff are too busy complying with basic requirements, because our friends in Lansing and DC just keep coming up with more and more requirements. And so asking us to, like, how do we go further? And so that's the next part of that conversation. So really excited about, as we say, all municipalities know what master plans are. City of Grand Rapids is doing one, the Rapids doing one, Wyoming just finished one. So we're looking to create master plans for inclusion. That's the working title of that work. And then last but not least, again, something that based out of this work but not funded by you all is I've been doing a lot of work with our state association members across the state. I primarily do that to get out of Kim's hair and stay out of her way so she can keep doing the fun stuff she's doing. But that, as I said, I think 3 years ago, the opportunities that we have in Grand Rapids to fund this work, as Mark said, it's at one point, I'm honored to, and just, whatever, some good pride that we are truly at the cutting edge across the nation. And then at the same time, it's like, how can we be at the cutting edge? And so, but we're going to keep moving forward. And then how, in Grand Rapids, we can afford this, but Baldwin, Michigan needs this probably more than we do. Baldwin is aging faster than we do. Baldwin doesn't have the resources that Grand Rapids does. So, as you would not be surprised to learn, I have been talking with legislators and others about how this program truly is, should be funded by the state of Michigan, and it would leverage additional local resources. So I cannot say thank you enough for this opportunity. This truly, 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 as Mark already alluded to, quoting one of our national speakers, what we continue to be able to do in this partnership is a national model. And we're just going to keep, the team, I'm going to stay out of their way. They're going to keep doing cool stuff, and we'll keep reporting back. So I don't have any questions for us?
Any questions? It's great work.
Fantastic.
Yeah. All right. Again, it's totally our honor.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Dave. Thank you. All right, Mr. Kelly, you're up.
Yeah, a few quick things to highlight. We talked a lot about World of Winter, but just a reminder, we have a few other events going on before the snow starts falling. First, we have Return to the River. So you have a flyer at your seats, so just wanted to flag that, happening at the end of August, in addition to Art Prize, so that's kicking off September 14th. And they've had a really good uptake in terms of artists and venue registration, so excited for both of those things to happen. And then before both of those, we are hosting a watch party at our Las Conchas futsal courts for the Women's World Cup. Their first game is Friday night, July 21st at 9 p.m. So if you want to stay up a little later on a Friday night, come on over and we'll have the big screen up to kick off that event. On the project side, before I get into this one, did want to note we did get an update on Lion Square. We expect that the bids for that will be going out next week to start that process along. So fingers crossed that all continues on track, and we'll update you. We would expect that bids would be in early August, and then we'd be able to hopefully bring a contract forward in September. So stay tuned, but we are seeing good progress there. In addition, our wayfinding kiosks are in fabrication and are ready to be installed starting next week on Monday. So you'll start to see those 6 kiosks go in, and then the remaining wayfinding signs will then start fabrication and will start to go out. So by the end of the summer, for sure, you'll start to see the new signs in and around downtown. So keep an eye out for those. And then lastly, on the project front, wanted to note the ZECLA. So these are the temporary bus stops and sidewalk extensions. These were approved by you all last year in late 2022. So these will be going in this weekend as well. So you'll start to see that over at, this is Wealthy and Front Street, so just on the west side over the bridge. And then last but not least, an update. Given all the air quality things that were going on over the past few weeks with the wildfire smoke blowing down here, did just want to note, and I think we had included one of the links in the media hits, that Just Air was sort of all over the news, including on CNN and PBS NewsHour. They have taken off really well, and Darren they've hired 5 people now, and he's hoping to grow that, double that in the next year. And so it's, again, just like to continue to tell the story of some of the funding that we've done and trying to help get these initiatives up and running are really showing some success. So wanted to highlight that bit of good news as well, despite the obvious air quality issues that were going on. With that, happy to take any questions.
Yes.
There weren't any financials this month.
There were not, and that's just because we are finishing up year end. So year end typically takes 6 to 8 weeks to bring those together. So probably by September. I don't want to put Tricia on the spot, but
we'll have preliminary numbers for you in September that hopefully wouldn't change, but can't be final until we get the auditor blessing.
Yeah. Just because we normally go so quickly through financials doesn't mean you're not missed.
Thank you for noticing that. Yeah.
Anything else? All right. Next, we have public comment. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to step forward, now is your opportunity. Seeing none. Board member comments? Any great comments for the greater good of this community? I have nothing. Sorry. No, it's been a good summer. We're excited for Lions Square.
Excited for Art Prize.
Most excited for Art Prize, for the amphitheater, and things to come. I think we're on the precipice of some really transformational projects that are going to sweep the city and the region in a great way. So, thank you all. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you.